In this video, I'm going to show you how to insert a table in Canva. To start, we're going to create a design and select the design type that we want from the dropdown. Then we're going to have our design here, and now we're going to insert a table. This is really easy to do. You just go over to Elements and type Table into Elements, and then you will see that there are table options here. You can see all of the different options. You will just select the first one if you want to get started quickly. Once you have the table on the page, there's a lot that you can do with it. So if you want to have more columns, you would add columns up here by clicking the three dots at the top and click Add Column. This will give you 4 columns. If you want to add another, you would do that. You can also click this plus sign and add there. So there's a lot of ways you can do that. If you want to spread them out and make it wider, you would just drag the edge, and then you would also be able to drag both sides, so you can drag both edges. So let's zoom in a little bit and work on adjusting this. If you want to, you can basically drag the column over and make them as wide or as thin as you want, depending on what kind of columns you need. If you're doing something that was just a checkbox, you could do that, make them smaller or wider. If you want the columns to be kind of sized equally, you would go over to the side where the rows are, and you would click the 3 dots there, and then you will see the size columns equally, and click that. That will space them out so that they are all nicely spaced out at the same amount, so each column is the same. You can do the same with the rows. So if you have all of these rows, you can basically move them around, but if you change your mind and you want them to be spaced equally, you can go up to the 3 buttons at the top and then go to Size Rows Equally and click on that. So that is how you space them out equally. So then it works all the same way if you're doing the things with rows. So you can go over to the 3 columns on the side and click those. Then you go to Add Row, and you can add as many rows as you need. They do add kind of spaced out the same way. If you want to change that, you can by, of course, dragging and dropping. Or if you want to keep all the rows the same, you can go to the 3 buttons at the top, find the Size Rows Equally, and make them all even up. You can also adjust how the rows are colored. So if you want to, you can select the individual cells of your table and then go up here to Color, click on Color, and then you can select a color to fill them in. So you can do that. If you don't like that, you can always go back to this one that is a transparent. It says no color. It has a little red across it. Or you can, again, select whatever color you like for your rows, or you can do it with columns as well. Another option you can edit with your table is if you select your table, you can go up here to border and change the border. So there's the option to change all borders, outer borders, inner borders. And what you can change with that is the border color or the style. So you can change if it's basically a full line or if it's kind of a dotted line like that. So you can select that. You can do lines like this. There's a couple different options. You can also make the lines thicker by selecting a higher border weight. So it could be a thicker table or a thinner one if you are wanting it to look a little bit thinner. So those are some options for the borders. You can also do border changes with individual cells. So let's say we want to select this cell and then maybe this one, and basically hold down Command and select a few different ones so you can see the difference. Once you have those selected, you can go over to border style or whichever one you want to change. And if you increase it or you make them, let's see, a little dot, it'll do that with the borders for individual cells, which is, nifty if you have something you want to highlight. To undo that, you could select them all again and go back up and readjust the border, or you can just click Command Z and undo what you did. If we want to change everything on the table, we need to select everything on the table, and of course, then we can adjust all of the items together. So that is how you adjust those. Another thing you can adjust in that top menu is if you have selected everything is the table spacing. So there is the option here with table spacing to use this and drag it along and space out your cells more. So you could have a little bit of more spacing between your items if you like that, or you can undo that. Another thing you can do with tables is basically select the whole table and then use the edges to drag and drop and change the size. So you can just move it over and that would change the columns and how wide they are. Or you could just expand it further. You can also make it shorter. You can basically drag and drop it to make it look like whatever you want, whatever size you need. So that's always an option. If you have too many columns or rows, you can basically select it again and then go over to the side, click the three dots, and delete rows. Let's say you have things in the middle of them and you want to delete this row here. You go over to the side to the three dots, click it, and then delete that specific row. It will highlight it in red as you are deleting it. So if you go to delete row, it will show you which one you're deleting in red and then click delete. So that's most of what you can do with tables, including inserting them, adding columns, adding rows, deleting columns, deleting rows. All of the things you can do with a table. They are super useful. It's an amazing function in Canva. I hope this video was helpful for inserting a table into Canva. And now you can insert a table in Canva and adjust it to your needs.